Dive. Hundreds of people right now on our Facebook page talking about the latest news out of Washington. Yesterday, the Senate approved legislation that limits President Trump's war powers over Iran. So, do you agree with the Senate's decision? You can open your KARE 11 app and vote now, or head to KARE11.com/vote now to weigh in. Meanwhile, the bipartisan vote requires the president to get approval from Congress before taking further military action against Iran. 8 Republican senators joined Democrats in approving the measure despite opposition from President Trump. Now, before the vote, he tweeted this: "Sends a very bad signal. Democrats are only doing this as an attempt to embarrass the Republican Party. Don't let it happen." It all comes after President Trump ordered an airstrike that killed a top Iranian general, Soleimani, last month. The White House argues the measure undermines national security and makes the United States look weak. Supporters, however, say Congress needs to be consulted in decisions of war. The House could take up the Senate resolution next month, but if it reaches President Trump's desk, he's likely going to veto it. So this is what our Sunrisers are saying about this whole ordeal this morning. Bravo says, "I don't care what party or ideas you believe in. There is no way just one person, president or not, should have the power to start a war." Chris here thinks lawmakers are just trying to win votes, like always. If it weren't almost time for elections, this wouldn't be happening. But Patrick says, good. Nice to see some bipartisan work going on in D.C. So again, we're having this live survey, so you can still vote. Do you agree with the Senate's decision to limit war powers in Iran? Right now, I mean, it's been kind of going back and forth from our Sunrisers all morning who've been voting. Right now, 53% saying yes.
Oh, close as usual. I mean, yeah, everyone's always trying to get votes. That's how our system's set up.
Right.
But also, it's good to have a government with checks and balances. That's how it's supposed to be. So
that's how it's also set up, right? Yeah. All right.